Shalom, shalom. My name is Yeshaya Yisrael, giving honor and praise to the Creator and the Maker of heaven and earth. This particular presentation is not going to be a long one, but it's going to be a necessary one. You understand? And essentially, it is about why is it that we as Black people are told to be sidetracked, to not consider and contemplate our situation, our plight, and things of that nature. Now, what I'm going to present is kind of like twofold. Let me first off by start to say this. I do not, brothers and sisters, want it to be thought that I am insensitive or inconsiderate of the fact of anybody's plight or situation. However, if a person, heaven forbid, is dealing with diabetes, it is disrespectful to the person dealing with diabetes to just focus and talk about arthritis only. If a person unfortunately is dealing with diabetes, it is disrespectful to talk to that person about the people that suffer from a boil. If a person, may he rest in peace for now and forever. And I started watching some of the videos that he's done, Dr. Sebi, right? When he speaks on the subject matter about mucus, whatever element that the man is speaking on, he's what sticks to the subject matter. When you go into colleges, for instance, they have a syllabus and it is expected for you to stick to the subject matter. You understand? So what I am saying in this particular aspect is we as Black people, when we speak about the things that we have gone through and continue to go through, I have been asking, why is it that Black people, when speaking about Black people's situation, are told to look at somebody else's suffering? That is a form of disrespect. What you're saying, part of my language, is whatever Black people are going through ain't shit because, well, look at that one over there. And brothers and sisters, what we want to point out for reason and purposes is that as men, as a man, we men deal with women in relationships. When a woman is speaking about a particular subject, she doesn't view you in the same light. When you start to talk about everybody else and every other situation that has nothing to do with what she's presenting to you, stick to the subject matter, not to throw any names out there or anything of that sort. There's a brother who accidentally sent a picture of him and his ex to his current spouse, to his current lady, to his current significant other. That male had to explain why did that happen? Why did he even, quote, still have that picture? Who was that person in that? Now, if you want to do the hula hoop matter, a person can easily try to wiggle their way out of that situation by saying, well, you know, my account might have been hacked. I don't really know what that is. Somebody else had got my phone. I don't know. No. Stop it. Stop it. As we said before in a teaching called From Dahomey to Delaware, the game stopped here. You understand? We're getting too old as a people. We're getting too old as individuals to still come with the same nonsense as we've been coming with and expected to sit there and, quote, still ride. You know the saying, how it goes, ride it till the wheels fall off. Well, eventually, the wheels do fall off. And what then do you do when you begin to keep dragging? You understand? This is stuff we want to talk about for edification purposes. So, without further ado, we want to do this presentation. It is called Don't Get Sidetracked. Why is it when black people speak of our oppression, we are told to look at others too? That's a question. And I need an answer for that. That's going to go according to the question. Thank you. Next slide. The reason there was a mafia. As regards to the word itself, its origin can be traced back in the centuries. Sure, it has something to do with the many invasions Sicily was exposed to. During the ages, Sicily has been invaded by pretty much all of the peoples in the Mediterranean area. Mafia stemmed from the phrase morte alla Francia Italia anela, which translates to death to the French is Italy's cry. Now, we know good and well that the mafia, starting off in Italy, in Sicily, it started off for protection purposes for the Sicilian people because they were being attacked by the French. So what they organized, the Sicilian men, all right, they organized themselves together to form a defense against that which is attacking them. You know, they became, you might say, what the white blood cells of the Sicilian country. The white blood cells are formed, correct me if I'm wrong, in the bone marrow, right? And the white blood cells, when it detects something is wrong in the body, it goes to attack it. So if the white blood cells are seeing, okay, just throwing it out there, a cold, right? It will form its own self to go and attack that cold. That's what the white blood cells do. It's part of the immune system in the body. You understand? If the body has an unfortunate autoimmune disease like lupus or so forth and so on, the body doesn't know how to sit there and deal with it because its defense mechanism has been compromised, as the saying goes. So when you're taking things to help your immune system, such as red clover, which is an herb, such as hyssop, which is an herb, such as dandelion, which is an herb, such as poke root, which is an herb, these things go and attack what it's meant to attack. You understand? So you're not going to have something such as burdock, which then generally deals, correct me if I'm wrong, with your liver and the cleansing of your blood to start dealing with the stomach, because the herbs that come from the earth that the creator made and the body that comes from the earth that the creator made work in unison. So an herb, be it burdock, hyssop, what have you, is going to go and attack what is made to attack. To have an herb, just picking on burdock, for instance, which is similar to like golden seal, which is a blood cleanser, it's not going to go and start working per se on the skin and acne, because that's not what it's for. Now, of course, there's herbs that serve different functions, but the herbs that serve its own function or its own functions is not going to sit there and start just going all over the place to do anything else. Because when you have, unfortunately, what they call free radical cells, which is in the form of cancer, brothers and sisters, that's something that is not good. So now, in dealing with this particular subject matter, when we as Black people are told to look at other people's situations, that right there is like telling the herbs, go and attack something else that you have nothing to do with. It's a form of disrespect, and it doesn't cause a healing to a person or a people. If the herbs, such as say golden seal, which is a blood purifier, starts to not do that function, what it's made for, what it's created for, it start working on another thing that is not what it's made for, the situation with the purification of the blood is not done. It's not resolved. You have compromised and, bullshitted once it came down to that situation. And your body is thinking like, what in the world is going on? And that's what we as a quote body of Black people are being told to do. When we are told to look at everybody else's situation, every time we speak about our plight and our situation, you are telling me to bullshit my own people. You are telling me to not worry about my own people. If I am the golden seal in a particular matter, you're saying Don't worry about the cleansing of the white blood cells and the red blood cells. Go and fight acne. You're trying to misdirect me from the focus that I need to be on. That is what you're doing. You understand? It's that deep, brothers and sisters. So, why did I point this out in this meme here? Pardon me, not in this meme, in this PowerPoint right here about the aspect of mafia, because it was created because the Sicilians were being attacked by the French. You cannot tell a Sicilian man who knows what his body is functioning as an organization, you understand, to go and start to attack Russia, to go and to start an attack Iraq, to go and to start an attack India. Because India, Iraq, and Russia, correct me if I'm wrong, when the mafia was created in Sicily, was not bothering the Sicilians. It was the French that was bothering them. One more time. It was the French that was bothering them. So once they recognized what the enemy is to them, they formed an organization. They became like the white blood cells to try to rid their people, their organizations, their bodies, all right, of a foreign invader. Who would have been disrespectful enough to approach the mafia in Sicily and to tell them, oh, don't worry about the French because, well, you know, the French are bothering you, but the French go through things too with the English. You cannot tell the Sicilian to not worry about the oppression that the French had the Sicilians under by saying, well, look at the British who attacked the French. Talking about you need a balance. You got to look at all angles. I don't have to look at all angles. I got to know where my people and my situation is at. Because what you're doing is you're trying to take me off of the path of what I need to be focused on. What agency has hired you to sit there and be a hindrance to Black people focusing on what Black people are going through? Well, you know, I remember when I was in the 6th grade, no disrespect to the teacher. This is being in the 1990s, 1991 in particular. And this was around the time with the era with the Rodney King thing. This was around the time in the era with the situation that happened with the Crown Heights riots. All right. The teacher said, well, there's white boys and white people who are attacked by the police as well. That doesn't help my situation, ma'am. To tell Black people, Black children or adults, that there are other people who go through a particular unfortunate situation. TOO, is telling those Black children or those Black people, don't worry about yours because of others as well. That's a problem. You understand? Nobody is made to sit there and have to go through that except for us as a people. We are the only people, when I say we, I'm talking about Black people, are the only people who are told to sit there and look at somebody else's situation when we have similar or even worse situations. You are trying to misdirect me from the focus I need to be on. You're telling me what I'm dealing with ain't worth your motherfucking time. Sorry to have to drop it like that. You're telling me about the shit that I've been dealing with doesn't hold any kind of weight. So just shut the F up, stop pouting and bitching, and so forth and so on, and just sit there and realize that, you know, the whole world didn't go through what you went through. When our people were singing the blues, talking about nobody knows the trouble I've seen, you couldn't sit there and try to bring that to everybody else. You understand? When Lena Horne made the song Strange Fruit about the lynchings that was going on, there were white boys that were lynched. But what do you say to the black mother whose son was? What do you say to a person such as Malcolm X, whose father was killed by the KKK? Do you sit there and say, well, there's others who go through things as well? You might sit there and be the next one in the funeral, coming to somebody with your insensitive ass. You understand? Case in point, go back then, if you wanted to the Sicilians and tell them while they were being oppressed by the French to sit there and say, don't worry about the French oppressing you because the British do oppress the French, and see if that mafioso guy don't sit there and have one whacked, as the saying goes. You would have gotten, quote unquote, whacked by the Sicilian mafia by trying to sit there and pacify them by saying, well, the French go through things by the British. While they're trying to alleviate their problem, here your dumbass comes along talking about, well, what about everybody else? No, don't disrespect people like that. This is something, and I want to reiterate this as a man in regards with women. When a woman talks to a man about a situation, and that man talks about everything else but that situation, she eventually puts it in her mind, this weak cornball ass nigga does not know how to hold a conversation. Because she's presenting a subject, and here he goes tap dancing around the matter instead of addressing the situation. She's not going to see you as the same individual. She's not going to sit there and say, wow, I was wrong about what happened with the brother, or the brother confessed and admitted X, Y, and Z. She will respect you more as a man, as opposed to, I'm going to hop around this matter. I'm not going to sit there and address the matter that's being presented because I'm going to fill your head up with all kind of bullshit. I remember, maybe she rests in peace now, my mommy. I remember when she was telling me certain things about me, and me being in my feelings. Well, Ma, I was a teenager. Mommy, Ima the Hebrew word for mother. I'm not like those guys out there. I'm not walking around with no red scarf, talking about I'm Damu, I'm blooding, I'm loking, I'm cripping, I got some blue bandana out my back pocket. Stupid. I'm not talking about the people who are the Bloods and the Crips outside. I'm talking to you in my house after you came out of my womb. Stick to the subject. Stop trying to sit there and pacify a situation and wiggle your way out of it by trying to sit there and act like, well, I'm just going to sit there and not entertain the matter. I'm going to sit there and just not deal with it. She will view you as a freaking weakling as a man. A woman will respect you more when you can sit there and stick to the subject matter. Because, see, and it's not to sound sexist, women, they size men up. This one's good for this. This one's good for that. This one knows this. This one knows that. So if you want to put yourself in a category of being a man that's to be a strong man or a man worthy of a woman's respect, stick to the subject matter that's being presented. Don't hop around all over the place wondering why she don't respect me. Because she see through your bullshit, bruh. She realizes that for whatever reason she's sticking around, one reason or the other, but she know once it comes down to convo, once it comes down to situations of the heart, he's not there. This is something we want to point out for reason and purposes. In a nutshell, pardon, stop trying to bullshit people. You understand? Stop it. Next slide. The Turks and their part in the matter. Slavery in the Ottoman Empire was a legal and significant part of the Ottoman economy and society. The main sources of slaves were war captives and organized enslavement expeditions in North and East Africa, Eastern Europe, the Balkans, and the Caucasus. Why do I point this out? Because, brothers and sisters, the Ottoman Turks used to enslave the Russians. Did you know that? There were a guy by the name of Suleiman of the Turks who used to sit there and have Russian women, brothers and sisters, as slaves. Now, I'm not Russian. I'm not Turk. I'm not a Turk. I'm not a Russian. What is being presented in this one is this: to tell a said black man to worry and focus on or to contemplate the suffering that the Russians dealt with under the Turks is to tell that black man his suffering ain't worth shit. That's what you're saying. That's exactly what you're saying. You understand? You're telling him the things that he has gone through as a man, a black man, black people, black males. Don't worry about that. That you can make a roll call of the police homicides on black males. I feared for my life. That kind of song. Telling a black man about that, brothers and sisters, hands down, is a form of disrespect. You understand? That's something to be pointed out. The problem with the Russians and the Turks is just that. It's the problem between the Russians and the Turks. Next slide. The British and the Irish, the Korean and the Japanese too. The Irish slaves were sent to British territories in the Caribbean. They were categorized as, quote, indentured workers and, quote, servants of the English colonial elites. They came as slaves, vast human cargo transported on tall British ships bound for the Americas. I wonder if the conscious community asks the Irish for the slave ships that is talked about with the British. You know how the autonomous or the Morris community, whatever they call themselves, asks the, quote, Pan-Africanists or those who are saying that the Atlantic slave trade did go west by via a slave ship. You know how, where's the slave ship? Do you have any evidence of it? I wonder if they ask the Irish where the slave ships are at. See, that's part of the bullshit that's being presented to black people, so we won't focus on our struggle. They came as slaves, vast human cargo transported on tall British ships bound for the Americas. They were shipped by the hundreds of thousands and included men, women, and even the youngest of children. Now, the British enslaved the Irish. That's not really denied. Could you tell the Irish about the situation between the Russians and the Turks? No. You cannot tell the Irish people who were oppressed by the British to sit back and look at the situation between the French and the Sicilian. You cannot tell the Irish who were oppressed by the British to look at the situation between the Turks oppressing the Russians. Black people, on the other hand, are the only people that are fed the bullshit to sit there and be told about everybody else, and you need to look at everybody else. It ain't only you, nigga. Stop acting selfish, nigga. Everybody else go through shit too. That's what you're saying. But nobody else is told that. You understand? The Sicilian is not told that. The Irish is not told that. And let's continue. Korean prisoners of war were shipped to Japan as slaves during the Japanese invasions of Korea in the 16th century. Can you tell the Korean to not sit back and worry about that history between them and Japan? Hell no. But you can tell a bunch of dodo heads online, you understand? Well, whatever you went through, you need to stop pouting and bitching and get over it, dude. You can't tell other people that. That's something we want to talk about for edification purposes. So taking it back, why is it when black people speak of our oppression, we are told to look at others too? That is the point in that particular subject matter. You understand? So let us understand the point in such a presentation. The Japanese and the Koreans, and the situation that happened between the Japanese and the Koreans, is not being presented to the Sicilian man. So why is it when we as black people talk about what we as black people go through and have gone through, everybody else sit there and get to ride along with our suffrage movement? Nah, doesn't work like that. You understand? Next slide. Native Americans and the black man. In the 1830s, all of the 5 civilized tribes were relocated, many of them forcibly to Indian Territory, later the state of Oklahoma. The incident is known as the Trail of Tears, and the institution of owning enslaved Africans came with them. Of the estimated 4,500 to 5,000 blacks who formed the slave class in Indian Territory by 1839, the great majority were in the possession of the mixed bloods. Tensions varied between African Americans and Native Americans in the South, as each nation dealt with the ideology behind enslavement of Africans differently. In the late 1700s and 1800s, some Native American nations gave sanctuary to runaway slaves, while others were more likely to capture them and return them to their white masters or re-enslave or even re-enslave them. Why do I talk about this? Because, as stated, I don't want to sound as if I'm coming off as insensitive, but you are not going to sit there as a black man or a black woman and speak about the oppression of black people to Native Americans, and they're going to be like, I'm so sorry. No, we are black people. We as black people already know white people have oppressed white people, but as black people, every time we talk about it, white people usually say, get over it. Other people gotten over it. So then you have some kind of people who are appeared, at least in image, to be black, quote unquote, you understand, that would sit there and do the beck and call of the white man to sit there and say, you know what, I'm going to tell these niggers who sit there and write these books about black enslavement and about the black plight and about the black situation and the black suffrage and all of this stuff. I'm going to tell them about the natives, and I'm going to tell them about everybody else too, because we have to sit there and quote, be balanced. Fuck that. Pardon the language. Fuck that political correct bullshit. Every time black people are speaking about what we have gone through, somebody comes along and sits there and says, well, what about this and that? You're in the wrong conversation, buddy. You understand? Stop filling our people's head with everybody else. Stop doing that. Because the other peoples don't treat you the same way. In white orientated schools, they do not teach about black history. When they go over American history, they talk, and I've studied in those classes in college, okay? So they talk about black people and what black people have gone through, and then it's a very short thing. It's just like when they do Western Civilization 101 in college courses. The part dedicated to the Israelites, the children of Israel, is less than 15-minute discussion. When they go over from ancient Sumer to ancient Egypt, to start talking about what happened in the Middle East, to start talking about what went all the way on with the aspect with it going into Greece and Rome and then ending with Columbus and the syllabus for Western Civilization 101, the part dedicated to the House of Israel is less than 15 minutes in discussion in a whole college semester. So don't tell me about looking at everybody else when they trying to marginalize your history. Talking about it and feeling for it are two different things. I've taught in a college. The people of other races who go and take Black history courses do it for the sole purpose of one or two reasons. One, they like Black women and want to sit there and get with a Black woman, so they sit there and study Black history to teach their big child. That is what white boys, white men have said in college Black courses. I'm taking this course because my girlfriend is Black and I want to know more about Black people. So I got to ask that white man, what happened to your white woman? She wasn't good enough for you that you had to go and get a Black Trinidadian sister? Because see, that's what black women say about black men when black men sell out. So we can ask the white man the same thing. What is wrong with your white woman that you want to sit there and get the black woman? You understand? Or they want to get their GPA or their grade point average up because they want to sit there and be accepted in another school with a higher GPA. So I'll just take this black college course, which is, quote, an elective. It's not a major requirement. If you go through college without ever taking any black history courses, depending upon your major, you will not sit there and be penalized. You can still get your degree. I've taught in a college course. You understand? I know what the hell I'm talking about. There was a proposal to have black, quote, African studies taken out of colleges. Don't tell me the bullshit about having to, quote, be balanced and look at everybody else's when they trying to marginalize and trying to get rid of what you have gone through. You understand? Stop with the bullshitting. Stop with the aspect of trying to just, well, we're going to have the Rainbow Coalition, which doesn't include the color black, by the way, in a rainbow. You understand? And we're going to all have come together and we're all going to sit there and be all one united thing. They refer to it in bullshit terms as cultural diffusion. But what does that mean? Diffusing something means you watering it down. You're causing it to have less weight, less potency. So cultural diffusion, once it comes down to anyone, is causing you to sit there and have it diffused, to causing it to have it sit there and fall down for where it can and should be. And that's what we've been taught. You understand? So this is what I wanted to point out in that particular regard. There were Native Americans that had black people as slaves. Now, for the house of Israel, Joseph was respected by the Egyptians. The scriptures distinctly tell you that the Pharaoh who knew not Joseph, he was the one who decided to put the children of Israel in bondage. So the Israelites would have been cooning. So those Egyptians before him were really respecting Joseph, you know. They had great respect for Joseph, you know. The respect they had for Joseph later on was not to be understood and respected because now you beating the children of Israel's behind. So I'm not going to ignore the ass whooping that I'm getting on account of saying, well, back then they respected Joseph. You're the fool. Because the Pharaoh had an edict, kill their sons. So when you're looking at, well, the Egyptians at one time, motherfucker, that is in the past. It ain't that time no more. And this is what we want to talk about. I apologize perhaps for the linguistics in this particular aspect, but we want to drop the point home for a reason and purposes. And sometimes you got to get there in order to make an ignorant motherfucker understand what you're talking about. Because you try to talk higher, we're going to show this PowerPoint with references and charts and this source and that source. I don't get it. So when I, like Lauryn Hill said, I drop a motherfucker for your ignorant niggas hear me, it's so that way we can gain understand what we're talking about. Stop bullshitting the people and pacifying them with the aspect that everybody else is suffering, because you could not do that to the Sicilian. You could not do that to the Korean. You could not do that to the Irish. So why the fuck you think you can do it to the black man and everybody's supposed to be all right with it? Because you don't respect black people. That's why. If a man and a woman are talking about something, as speaking about before, and he's dancing around the subject she's talking about, he does not respect her. That's the image and the energy that this is coming with. The form of disrespect that has been shown. Stop the bullshitting. Next slide. The question that was asked. I'm asking, when are non-black people made to speak of others' oppression? One part. Next part. No one who is non-black will go back and forth with their people about black people suffering. You're not going to find two white boys on their own accord going back and forth about the slave trade was bad for black people. Yeah, well, we white people are going through things and we thought Trump was going to be a hero, but he wasn't. Well, black people go through things because as dumb, quote unquote, as dumb as Forrest Gump was in that movie played by Tom Hanks, when that white man said to his white brother, Forrest Gump, These niggas want to go to school with us. He didn't ask what his white brother meant when he said nigga. You understand? These coons want to go to school with us. Well, we had raccoons in the backyard. My grandmother just took the broom and hit them. Not raccoons, you idiot. Niggers. Oh, they do? Forrest Gump, as dumb as he was, knew what his white brother meant when he said niggers. He didn't, well, what's a nigger? I don't know what you're talking about. We're the only ones who try to play dumb once it comes down to certain situations. The passivity must end. We're not babies. You give a baby a pacifier. My sister just had a baby yesterday. In time, that baby will be given a pacifier when she is desired to not be crying. Here, pacify the baby. Give them a pacifier in their mouth. Give them a bottle. Make them be quiet. That's what you do to babies when they're annoying you due to their crying. Am I right or wrong? Check. But with us as black people, you got grown people who want to do this to other grown black people. Try to give us a bottle or pacify us with some nonsense just to keep us quiet. Fuck that. It will not go down like that. Or the other situations where we just hope people will slow down in doing certain things. We as black people are so far behind socially, politically, economically, financially, and so forth. The last thing we need to do as a people is slow down. We need to speed up, catch the fuck up. You understand? We way behind where we should be as a people. So the last thing we need is to be told to slow down. The last thing we need to be told is about somebody else. Because like I pointed out before, if you're dealing, for instance, with herbs, golden seal, for instance, that deals with the cleansing of the blood, it's not going to sit there and go and deal with something that is not made for. That's haywire. That's not according to what it was created for. This is the point in this particular subject. I'm not asking to be shown when our non-black people are told to look at another suffering. Well, you have a lot of people who go through a lot of things and they look at black people suffering. That's not the answer to the damn question. Majority of the books that I do cite in regards to the slave trade were written by white males. But they're not going to have a white course dedicated to the Atlantic slave trade. That's not what they're going to talk about. There's no white course dedicated to that. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yet, as pointed out in the movie Amistad, you understand, by Steven Spielberg, one of the things that was pointed out when a guy, I think, I forgot his real name or whatever, but he was playing the president, John Adams. And in the movie Amistad, they had a statue of Washington and a statue of this president and the other president. And in it, the guy says something that concerning American history, it will be taught in our schools because we will make them know. So now, when I'm in the 6th grade, brothers and sisters, and I'm reading about French, England, Russia, that's part of that curriculum of the school. Again, I'm asking, when are non-black people made to speak? Not choose to speak, but made to speak. When are non-black people made to, in other words, do a report on Anne Frank? Remember Anne Frank from the Holocaust situation in Europe and her diary? Black people know about the diary of Anne Frank. You understand? But do you know how many black people do not know a black man invented the cell phone? Black studies concerning black history and so forth, is something that a person, and I'm thankful that I had the spirit to do so, that you got to want to seek out on your own, because they're not going to, the information is there, it's out there. They're just not going to sit there and put it to you on a platter and say, here, you got to go and seek that, because the information is out there. So don't worry about, well, everybody else go through things and the media doesn't report it. You can seek the information if you want. If you're not a damn study couch potato on YouTube who takes no time to sit there and do anything else but just sit there and debate all damn day. Get up off your ass and get stuff done. is what I'm saying. If you really want to be, quote, known as that teacher, you got to sit there and put some kind of work up in there. If you want to be, quote, a scholar, you got to sit there and put some kind of work up in there. Inciting memes and suppressed documentaries and aspects of suppressed reports of Native Americans going through this and that is not helping the black man. That shit ain't got nothing to do with us. Know where your struggle is at. You understand? That's something we want to talk about for edification purposes. Because I'm going to keep on pointing out in this presentation, the Sicilians, the Irish, the Koreans are not told, though they all have gone through oppression, to sit back there and look at the black man's plight. This is why I asked the question in particular. I wasn't asking who speaks on it. I'm not asking who wrote about it. I'm asking who is made to speak on it. Made. You understand? That is to say, you was compelled to, like we in the education system was compelled to study the diary of Anne Frank. They're going to let you know about this little girl's diary. You understand? But when we speak about stuff that we've gone through, well, there's other people going through things. Keep bullshitting if you want to, bruh. And then you wonder why black women say niggas ain't shit. Because you don't even know how to stay focused in conversation and know how to address the matter. Talk to sisters and see what they say about us as males. Get your game up, you know, that kind of thing. Step your game up. But when we hear step your game up, let's remember, we're not talking about playing a game. We're talking about getting the situation tight under grips. That's what we're talking about. And that's what we're being told too. You understand? I'm asking to be shown when our non-black people are told to look at another suffering. It doesn't happen. It doesn't exist. That's why. There's no answer to that. There's a response, but there's no answer. Responding and answering are two different things. In the medical world, for instance, when doctors check your blood again to the medicine that they gave you, they want to know, is it responding to it? Is it helping and so forth and so on? If somebody, heaven forbid, is being in a situation where they're sick and they are in the hospital or so, and the nurse or the doctors or so forth and so on are asking, well, did this happen? Did you go to another country? Did a bug bit you? What that, you know, some of those kind of questions and so forth and so on. If you start talking about refrigerators, they're going to say that you might need to be in the G building because you're not answering the question. You responded to being spoken to, but you did not answer what was being asked. You understand? That's the difference between answering and responding. Very important. Black Matters. Cellular phone, invented by Henry Sampson. Lawnmower, invented by John Burr. Elevator, automatic door open and close, was invented by a black man. Traffic signal, invented by Garrett Morgan. Doorstop, invented by Osborne Dorsey. Now, why do I point that out about the doorstop? Because it's very helpful, brothers and sisters, because it prevents you banging the door against the wall, making holes in the wall and all of that kind of stuff. So that kind of invention was very, very useful and is very useful. All right. Elevator, automatic door open and close. I didn't type it in, but was invented by Alexander Miles, a black man. Alexander Miles, a black man. Now, It's somebody who thinks that I'm out my mind and you're being insensitive and we all go through things all throughout the world and everybody. We are Rainbow Coalition. I don't know why you keep talking this kind of poor black nigga shit. This nigga monkey ape bullshit that this nigga Yeshaya be talking about all the time. You understand? I'm going to have to sit there and ask, when are white people, I go so far to say Hispanic people, are made to study about black inventors and their inventions? Not. They're not. And I want to emphasize this. Look at the first part. I am asking, when are non-black people made to speak? Made, in other words, compelled, when you have to do it under compulsion against your own will, because I got to get this thing done for a particular reason. When are you made to do so is the question. Not when you choose to do so. Not when I just sympathize with the people that was put in the slave ships. That's not what I'm talking about. You understand? You're not going to pacify me with that bullshit, man. You're not going to just come with just any old idiosyncrasies with your nonsense while I'm talking about what happened with me as a people, us as a people. Well, you know, there's black people who do wrong to black people. I know that. In my life, I have been jumped twice. Did you know that? I have been jumped twice in my life. Every fist that hit me was from a black man. But that does not eradicate about what I have gone through and what we as people have gone through in this society. In order for the white man and any other, quote, non-black people to be equated to black people, you got to show bad black people. So my point in saying that is this. What happens is, what they do is, well, you look at the situation with the matter with the situation, and that's just how they sound too. The situation with the matter with everybody else besides yourself doesn't work that way. You understand? Not throwing anybody under the bus, but I want to point this out. Black people have been known for stealing cars, clothing, money, and jewelry. White people have stolen continents, made legal treaties and did not abide by them, stolen stocks, stolen elections. So their level of wickedness, not being funny, not saying we should do any kind of wickedness as a people. By a people, I mean black people. You got to know when to be nationalistic and not trying to do this Rainbow Coalition bullshit. You understand? Sometimes you got to be healthy, selfish in your own self and in your own people. Stop trying to sit there and amalgamate everybody else. Because when they're in their house, they say, don't marry the black guy. Did you know that? Did you know that many non-black people in their house tell their children to not marry black people? Did you know that? Did you know when you go to Barnes and Nobles? I'm not talking about sitting on Amazon ordering shit. I'm saying get up off your ass and walk to a damn store, and you go to Barnes and Nobles, you will see history, then you will see African American interests. Because your interest doesn't fit in with their history. That's why Barnes and Nobles and business have it separated. Black studies and studies. So please, with the bullshit about everybody going through stuff and, you know, you have to, quote, have a balance. I don't have to balance with those who still fucking me up. You understand? I have a balance when I'm being oppressed by you. How in the hell, if one person has their foot on my neck while that person's hand is being pressed by somebody else's foot, why in the hell am I going to worry about that person's hand and say the hell with my neck? And this is not to be disrespectful. That's why I like being Old Testament based. It says in the book of Proverbs, I love those that love me. It is not telling you to pray for them that despitefully use you. No, you're supposed to pray to be relieved, not to pray to be with them who despitefully use you and persecute you. That is part of the pacifist spirit. Don't have these niggas worried about their own oppression. Don't have them talking about it. We're going to sit there and keep this on the quiet. Let me give a raw example of what I'm talking about for edification purposes. Everything ain't got to be on earth or F word. I understand? So let's drop this down for edification purposes. I remember years ago when my mother, may she rest in peace, was disrespected by me because I stole something from her as a child. If she was quiet, not on the phone laughing with her friends or whatever like that, not saying sending me to the store or the regular kind of hobbies and chores and so forth and so on, if she was solemn, if she was, in my understanding, contemplating, and I knew what I did, what was wrong, I'm like, oh shit. What mommy know now? Everything okay, mommy? You all right? Because you know, son, you're worthy of an ass whooping. Because you know what you did to your mother's money. So it's that inner conscious that's making you be like, everything okay? We all right? We all right? I remember being asked that by people of other races and nations. Are we okay? We okay? I'm well, and how are you? Because I can't speak for we, motherfucker. So I got to ask this situation when I'm asked, hey, how we doing? I'm well, and you? Because I can't speak for we or us. Because the reason why you're saying, oh, how are we doing, is because you know you done messed up somewhere along, and you need to know if I'm going to sit there and be the vindicator of your wickedness. So once I sit there and say, nah, everything's cool, I'm good in yourself, you're like, whoo, I ain't got to worry about that. That's what that is. You see, when they gentrify Harlem by having the rent raised and the people being compelled to move out and having advertised, you can get a brownstone in Harlem for this amount and all of that. They showed you Frank Lucas being portrayed by Denzel Washington. They showed you Richard Porter being portrayed by Mekhi Phifer and Paid in Full. And as stated, Frank Lucas portrayed by Denzel Washington in American Gangster, because we're going to show Harlem from the 1970s with the drugs. And after that, or along with that, we're going to show you Richard Porter and Alpo in Paid in Full. Harlem, the drug capital of New York City. So now when we gentrify Harlem, see, this is what the niggas done. One was selling heroin, the other was selling coke. You saw the movie Paid in Full, maybe. Nah, I ain't really dealing with that right now, B. That ain't working for me right now. You need to talk to your, you know what I'm saying, that dude your sister messing with, you know what I mean? That dude Calvin, he's so coke. Nah, I ain't dealing with that nigga dumb. You remember that line in the movie Paid in Full? Those movies, and this was said by many people in the quote drug game, that the movie Scarface, which is being portrayed by a white person portraying a quote unquote minority, was a way to sit there and have that as a cocaine commercial. That's what they're pointing out. See, they're not talking about Alexander Miles in the elevator. They're not talking about Garrett Morgan in the traffic signal. They're not talking about John Burr in the lawnmower. No, because if you need a lawnmower, that means that you went from project to house. Keep them niggas in the projects and then raise the rent up so they have to be forced to move. Because remember, we showed them Frank Lucas and Richard Porter as destroying Harlem. Don't pacify me with the bullshit about everybody else. Because in order to make the black man equated to the white man, you got to show the black man as Frank Lucas. You got to show the black man as Richard Porter. When they ran up in the apartment building and said, shoot him, bang, bang. That's what you got to sit there. The only time the white man and the black man is equal is when the black man is living like the original 50 Cent out of Brooklyn. Like when he's living like the YBY guys, pardon me, the YBI guys in Chicago and other places with the cocaine dealing. When they're living like Rayful Edmond in Washington, D.C. selling the cocaine. When they're living like Alpo selling the cocaine up in Harlem, when they're living brothers and sisters like the original Rick Ross in Compton and in South Central California selling the heroin and the cocaine. In order to equate the black and the white man, you got to sit there and show the black man as being a destroyer of his own people. The white man cannot stand on his own merit of righteousness. He got to be equated to a wicked black man to order have any equation. So fuck the bullshit. Once it comes down with you got to have a balance, you got to sit there and never worry about anybody else because every motherfucking body else ain't worried about your black ass. Next slide. The teaching of black history to black students. All right. These people and others are not mentioned in regular studies. The great things that our people have done are suppressed for a reason. African American studies in many cases are not transferable credits to other colleges. Three social studies teachers at a DC public charter school were fired for teaching black history lessons beyond what's in the curriculum, students' parents told News 4. It's about the history of who we are and where we come from, said Michelle Payne, whose son is in the 8th grade at Howard University Middle School of Math and Science. Parents say it is unacceptable for a school located on the campus of a historically black university to stifle African American history lessons. It is unacceptable by the parents. But the online generation will show you all kinds of things saying we should worry about everybody else. But the parents who get up off their ass, go to the child to school, they're the ones who are making the news. This is what we want to point out. Yes, it is unacceptable. If you know your culture, that's what they don't want you to know. If you know where from whence you came, it tends to build your self-esteem, said Latifa Bilal, a grandmother who heads Parents in Action, Howard Middle's parent group. In 2015, there were teachers that were fired for teaching, quote, beyond the curriculum of black history to black students. So fuck saying it to me, we have to worry about everybody else because there are black teachers who done acquired a degree that got fired, unemployed at this point because you was going into black history beyond what is being taught. So don't go beyond your means to try to tell me about everybody else's suffering when a man or woman as a teacher has to wonder when they're going to feed his or her perhaps black son or daughter the next meal because he or she is now unemployed for teaching black history to black students inside of a black university campus area. Don't tell me about that pacifying bullshit no more. Don't tell me about, well, there were natives, there's the Irish, there's that. I don't want to hear that shit. You understand? Because that I'm pointing out there are teachers that have been fired for teaching, quote, black history beyond the curriculum. So don't tell me there is no curriculum and no syllabus because I taught in a college for 5 semesters. Let me tell you what happens with teachers in colleges. They send spies as students. Did you know that? So the students, everyone on that roster, everyone on that list is not a said student. Some of them are paid by the university to be in there to monitor what you are teaching. Did you know that? Ask any college teacher, they know about that. That's not made up. So don't tell me about the aspect of being, well, everybody else, because every fucking body else ain't worried about you with your aging ass. Next slide. Final thoughts on the matter. Don't get sidetracked. Keep your studies up. Peace.